Now, when it comes to Cody Rhodes, and this is where I'll get back to Roman Reigns, I'm loving the show today. When it comes to Cody Rhodes, and this is where it gets back to Roman Reigns, one criticism of the draft this week, as we saw Cody Rhodes get drafted to Raw as the number 1 pick. I still think it should have been Gunther. And Roman Reigns get drafted to SmackDown as the number 1 pick with Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman, which, by the way, separating the Usos into the second segment of draft picks was a brilliant way to separate the bloodline. But the criticism came in, the thought came in, the fear, I should say, came in. Does this mean that Cody Rhodes doesn't get to finish the story? What about finishing the story? My opinion on that, and I have no problem that Roman Reigns beat Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. I still have no problem that Roman Reigns beat Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. The fact that Roman Reigns beat Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania makes me feel better that Roman Reigns beat Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre before that in their hometowns. The only thing, though, even if you object to that decision, the only thing potentially worse than Cody Rhodes losing to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania would be Cody Rhodes immediately winning the title after WrestleMania. For Cody Rhodes to go to Night of Champions or Money in the Bank or even SummerSlam and just a few months removed from WrestleMania then beat Roman Reigns, I believe would be a colossal mistake. Because this is what people would say, and they'd be right. This is what people would say. You could have had that moment at WrestleMania. 3 or 4 months after WrestleMania, you will never have the feeling or the build that you had at WrestleMania. Now, look, maybe there's a world where Roman Reigns holds the title for a whole year. Cody Rhodes wins the Royal Rumble. Cody Rhodes decides to leave the Raw brand, go to SmackDown, and at WrestleMania 40, Cody main events with Roman Reigns. And that's possible. But it's only possible. And I don't think, if you think that the WWE right now has their plan locked in for WrestleMania 40, you're out of your mind. They don't have their plan locked in for Money in the Bank, WrestleMania 40. But here's the thing that's been eating at me. There's a huge population that's out there that goes like, well, we're a month away from Roman Reigns becoming the 1,000-day champion. I believe at Night of Champions, right around then, he'll become the 1,000-day champion. So once he's got that 1,000 days, he'll lose the title. Says who? Who says that we're just waiting on this 1,000-day benchmark? Well, why did Roman beat Cody at WrestleMania? Because he's going to go for 1,000 days. Says who? He might go for 2,000 days. He might go for 3,000 days. He might go for the rest of his time on this planet. There is nothing in this story that says Roman is simply waiting for 1,000 days. Roman has not sat there and said, I'm going to be there for 1,000 days. I'm in 1,000 days, 1,000 days, 1,000 days, 1,000 days. No, he hasn't. Every time Roman talks, he just talks about the fact that this is forever. When Roman did the press conference at WrestleMania, he didn't say, if this is a baseball game, we're about to get to the 9th inning, and that's 1,000 days as champion. He said, if this is a baseball game, we're just in the 3rd inning. You guys don't understand the level of story that we're telling with the bloodline right now. You guys don't understand the level of storytelling that is the Roman Reigns title reign that we're living through right now. 1,000 days. What makes you think that it's written in stone? I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but what makes you think that it's written in stone that Roman Reigns is going to lose the title anytime soon? Here's the thing that I think some people, haven't quite figured out. They said, at WrestleMania, why wouldn't you just finish the story? And I'll tell you why. Because at WrestleMania, the story wasn't ready to be finished. And you're going, oh, Cody's got to wait for it. No. At WrestleMania, we weren't telling Cody's story. Cody's story was a small part of the bigger story that we were telling, that we're still telling, that we've been telling. It's not Cody's story. It's Roman's story. The story of Jey Uso having to get through all this mental torment and having to become a main event player and having to deal with his cousin tormenting him. That wasn't Jey Uso's story. It was Roman's story. The story of Edge finally getting the opportunity to main event WrestleMania one more time. The story of Edge finally getting the opportunity to hold that WWE title one more time. For Edge's dream to finally come true. Wasn't Edge's story. It was Roman's story. The story of John Cena coming back to make sure everybody still realized that he was the GOAT was not John Cena's story. It was Roman's story. The story of Brock Lesnar showing up and confronting Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, who used to be the advocate for Brock Lesnar and now is the special counsel for the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. That was not Brock Lesnar's story. It was Roman's story. The story of Drew McIntyre headlining a pay-per-view in his hometown and finally getting the opportunity to have the moment that was robbed from him at WrestleMania during the pandemic was not Drew McIntyre's story. It was Roman Reigns' story. The story that Sami Zayn meticulously and organically, beautifully told over the course of almost a year of joining the bloodline, of finally leaving the bloodline, of getting a chance to main event a pay-per-view in his hometown of Montreal that people said would never happen, was not Sami Zayn's story. It was Roman Reigns' story. And the story of Cody Rhodes coming back to WWE to get the title that his father was never able to get, injuring his pec, coming back, winning the Royal Rumble. It wasn't Cody's story. It was Roman's story. It's always been Roman's story. The conversation should not be, well, if not Cody, who's going to beat Roman Reigns? Because maybe no one. We're not even close to finishing the story, if you ask me. And now that there's a new World Heavyweight Championship, it makes me feel like 1,000 days is just another part of the Roman Reigns story. The one that I've just spent all these minutes talking about. The one that we've been telling for a couple of years now. It's just another chapter. Each of these stories, quote unquote, are just chapters in the story of Roman Reigns and the bloodline.